Hi everyone, and welcome to Billy Fitzgerald Golf. And today I want to talk about the relationship between your hands and the golf club. Because so many times I hear people say that they want to take their hands out of it. Now, if you use your hands correctly, they feel like they're almost not doing very much because your grip's right, the face is working right. Now, when those things go off and get off, then you start to feel that your hands have to compensate a little bit, and all of a sudden your hands are the only thing working because the club's out of position. I get that there. But for someone to just take their hands completely out of it, before you do that, watch this video. I think you're making a big mistake. The first thing that I would say is that your hands are the only thing that touch the golf club. The golf club, the face of the club, is the only thing that's touching the ball. So that communication is critical for you to play good golf. Especially for someone who may have body limitations, or maybe you're not moving quite like you were, several years ago. Your hands become invaluable. And so again, we've got to make sure that your hands are on the club right and that they are working right, because then I think you can change your mind about you want to take your hands out of it, because they are the biggest speed producer in the swing and they control the face. So when you talk about distance in control of the golf ball, there's nothing bigger than your hands, because again, they're controlling the face. But if your swing gets a little out of whack and you can get again a little handsy because of that, I yield. I know what you mean with that. So let's make sure that you're using your hands the right way and that they become an asset, and not a deterrent from your golf swing. So the first thing would be is that how we hold on to the golf club, because we got to make this face work correctly. So in the club, when you set up to the club, it's going to be in your fingers. Again, this is with a full swing because you want your wrist to work. The more lever you have, the more speed you have. So it's in the fingers and then on top. And my hand hangs on top because when the club pulls it into place, that's what's going to square the face. If I allow my arms just to hang, how my left arm hangs from my shoulder socket, see, that's where, when the club pulls on my arm, that's where the face is going to get squared up. So again, if I'm too weak and I go into impact, that face is going to be wide open, and it can also do other things like open the face in the backswing. So you got to make sure that this left hand is on there correct. Again, so many times I hear that hand position looks really strong. Well, when you put it into, it may look strong if you have grown up looking at the grip like this, where you feel like your hands, if this is neutral to you, yes, if I did this to my hand, yes, it would be strong. When you look at what happens in the golf swing and I come into impact, right, the weight of this club is going to pull just how my arm hangs. It's going to pull that arm and those joints line up. Just how my arm hangs in its shoulder socket. Plus this hip is pushing back and away and my hips are opening. So that face is square. So it matters when you put it into motion. Not what it just physically looks like on the club, but what is it doing once you get on that club? I've never really heard an argument besides that looks weak. Okay, well let's go through that. The other thing that's going to happen if it's too weak, you're not going to make your swing go back like this, because then again, for the face to get in line with my posture or my spine angle, that would be square. What's going to happen? Well, you're going to open the face up to again line these joints up so your arm can work. Now the face is wide open. See, that right there is where you would have to use more hands than you want, because now we're opening the face wide open, and your hands are having to try to square the face and flip the face through the strike. I agree, that would be too much hands. See, again, that would go back to we got to make sure that we understand grip and the function of the grip and how the face works. So that's how your lead hand goes on the golf club. It's in the fingers and on top. So I can go lever and hit. When this club comes down to the golf ball, it'll square the face automatically. I don't have to do something with my hands. So already my hands are working correctly. They're an asset, and I don't have to feel like I flinch at the golf ball when I hit it. My right hand just goes right on the side of the grip, so it matches the face. So this is throwing, and this is hitting. So all of a sudden my hands are working like this, right? So my hands have already become a big asset in stabilizing and squaring the face. So if I just took the golf club, I got it in my fingers, my hand's over, my left hand's over top, my right hand's on the side, and I start swinging the club back and forth. See, the face is going up and down the plane, and it's square to that plane. And I'm not doing anything besides having a functioning grip. So now when I get here and I just run the club back and forth, it goes back and forth, the ball goes right down the middle without me even doing anything. So that right there is an example where take your hands out of it. Well, I didn't take my hands out of it. I got my hands on the club correctly, and I let them work freely in how they need to work in order to square the face and keep the face square to the plane. And I didn't take my hands out of it. I actually got my hands very involved. So you can see where this concept of take your hands out of it, we got to be careful with that. The best players in the world rely on their hands a lot, but they don't feel like their hands are working a lot. So just like that, if my grip's on there correctly and I start swinging the club back and forth, see my hands, yes, they're doing a lot, but they don't feel like they're saving the face, and they don't feel like, if my body stalls out, I have to catch and flip the face up. See, those are so many more elements of take your hands out of it. In those cases, if I did that, because that's kind of a recovery of something else, we'd probably get worse if you stop doing that. So just be careful. Your hands are an asset. So just like I did here, my hands get on the face. I can feel how just when I swing back and forth, how the face stays very stable, and I don't do a whole lot with my hands because they're on the club properly. The next thing is speed. My hands are going to be producing speed because of these levers. So again, I get my hands on the club correctly, and as I swing back and I lever back over here, there's an L right here. Okay, this left hand is flat, this right hand is cup. I hit, and the club relevers over here, and this right hand is flat, and this left hand is cup. So again, my hands are very involved in the speed and the stability of the face. If I were to take my hands out of it and do that, right, now all of a sudden my shoulder sockets get tight, I don't have nearly as much speed, and I don't have any freedom. I've lost all my athleticism because I took my hands out of it. Okay, so we'll hit one with L to L now. So when we swing, I get my hands on there properly. I hinge back. I got a lever over here. I push back, and I've got a lever over here. So I've got a lever on both sides of the golf ball. That is speed with face stability, again, because my hands are on the club properly and my hands are moving the right way. Do I feel like my hands are working? Yes, but not overworking. They're just feeling what the momentum of the club is doing. So if I get my grip on there and do, again, L to L, so I hinge back, I hinge through, right? My hands did a lot and very little at the same time. So see, if your hands are on the club correctly and they're working correctly. In other words, when I swing over here, my lead hand is flat, my right hand my trail hand is cupped, I hit, then over here my lead hand is cupped, my trail hand is flat. If my hands work like that and my hands are on the club properly, there couldn't be a bigger asset in the swing. It's when my grip is not really in a functioning state, and now I've got to twist the face open just to get these joints aligned, and now I've got my hands are working like this. See, my arms are really twisting instead of when I do this and my hands work right. See, my forearms aren't twisting. They're very stable, much like I would throw a ball. So rethink this when you want it, when you try to take your hands on it, and 100% I get where you're coming from. But your hands are one of your most valuable assets in the swing. Get your grip right, get your hands working right, stabilize the face, and I think you'll agree with me, they're a major asset. And even this swing I did right in here, even with a full speed driver where my body's moving a lot more and I've got some turn and I've got some ground pressure, my hands still feel the same way, right? That's the nucleus of the swing. I get my hands going the correct way and it's back and forth. Now I may start turning and using some ground forces here, but my hands remain doing the exact same thing. And oh, by the way, that helps me control the golf ball if I want to curve it left or right. If I want to hit it high, I want to hit it low. I go right here. I go right to my hands because they control the face. And just by a couple degrees at the strike, I can make the ball do what I want to do. So rethink, if you're thinking about taking your hands out, rethink this and make sure that you're using your hands properly before you take them out of the swing. For more tips like these or to schedule a live lesson, visit me at BillyFitzgeraldGolf.com.